My next guest is a man whose name has been known in this market for nearly 25 years because at one point, while labeled the #1 high school prospect in America, he was committed to the University of Memphis. Fast forward to 2025, and Amar'e Stoudemire is now a retired six-time NBA All-Star who has scored nearly 16,000 points in his NBA career. Today, he's a National Civil Rights Museum Sports Legacy Award recipient who's going to be honored during the 20th annual Earl Lloyd Sports Legacy Symposium today at FedEx Forum at noon. You can stream it on FanDuel Sports Network. Amar'e Stoudemire, my name's Gary Parrish. It's nice to have you back in Memphis today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Do you remember that time? Of course you do. Let's go back there. So, you are the #1 high school player in America. You commit to John Calipari and the University of Memphis. There is a alternate universe where you were playing on a Memphis basketball team with DeJuan Wagner, Quintel Woods, and a long list of heralded Memphis basketball players that could have perhaps won a national championship here in Memphis.
For sure.
What do you remember about that whole time?
It was great. I was the top player in the country in high school, and I was verbally committed to Memphis. And I wanted to play with DeJuan Wagner. And I knew Wag was a really good player. I seen him play at the McDonald's All-America at the Nike camps, basketball camps. And so I wanted to team up with him. Quintel Woods was one of the top players out of JUCO who also wanted to go to Memphis. And so we had kind of a group call about, hey, let's team up. Let's try to go for a championship. And that was a great moment in my early career.
Are you aware of the story of Larry Brown and John Calipari coming to see you at an AAU tournament?
I am.
Okay, so just to retell it for the audience, John tells the story where he and Larry Brown, Larry's in the NBA, and he says, hey, I've got this kid committed. He's coming to Memphis. He's amazing. I want you to come see him. Larry's like, all right, I'll come check him out. They go to a tournament. They see you, and as the story's told to me, Larry Brown watches you for about 15 minutes and says, John, you don't really think that guy's coming to play college basketball, do you? He's going straight to the NBA. And John was like, what? He's like, he's never playing for you. How did you hear that story?
Yeah, I heard the same. I was at an AAU basketball tournament, and I knew Coach Calipari was in the crowd. I didn't see Coach Larry Brown, but I heard he was there. Yeah. And I had this incredible game. I had maybe 17 dunks in the first half or something, and I had a fast break. I went between the legs on the fast break, and one of my guys was like, "Yeah, I think Coach Calipari was speaking with one of the NBA scouts, and they're saying, yeah, you're not going to go to college, bro. You're going straight to the league." I was like, "That's the plan, but if I don't, I definitely want to go to Memphis," and that's how I went down.
I know that. In reality, it was really no choice for you. You had to go. It was life-changing money. It's nonsensical for most people to pass on that opportunity. But I realize you've also subsequently explained that you did really want to play college basketball and really wanted to be on a campus and that you felt like you missed out on something. Obviously, you made the right decision. But do you ever think back to what it would have been like to play college basketball?
Yeah, for sure. I think about that all the time. I mean, I actually went to summer school at Arizona State when I was in Phoenix when I got drafted because I wanted to go, live on campus and be on campus and get that experience. But yeah, being that I was a top player in high school and going straight to the NBA, I wanted to go to college. I wanted to have that experience, and not being able to have that experience at that time was always kind of a bit of a dream for me, But I did end up going back to school post-career. Graduated from the University of Miami. And I was able to get my MBA. But again, it didn't happen at the time of me from high school to MBA, but I eventually accomplished that void that I had in my career.
What did that mean to you to accomplish that? Obviously, you didn't need to do that. You've financially secured yourself. You had an amazing career most of us could only dream about, but obviously that was important to you. Why?
I think, for one, is just being able to have that school experience and then further your education. Obviously, playing the NBA, you make tons of money in these things, but a lot of your money's with the financial groups and in the business. You're kind of the entertainer, kind of celebrity guy behind the business, and not really involved in the actual finances and how that works. And so I want to go to school to learn how all that worked post-retirement, so that way I can understand how finances work when my career is over, which is the most important time to understand your finances because you're not making the same amount of money as you once made in the NBA. And so I went back to school to learn those aspects.
This is really interesting because in college basketball now, I've heard coaches talk about this a lot. Obviously, NIL and student athletes are now allowed to make significant amounts of money relative to what used to exist, which is nothing, at least above board. I've heard coaches say, I'm trying to stress to my players every day, okay, you're making $250,000, $300,000, and these are the 11th guys on college basketball teams. You don't have a career in the NBA. This is the most money you're ever going to make. Understand that and plan for that. And you were making obviously lots more money than that, but still understood that. How important is that for people in your profession, people who make money off their bodies, and their bodies aren't always going to be able to do what they were once able to do? How important is it for folks to realize that?
It's very important, because once you have, let's say you have 15 seconds, right? As they say, and so when those 15 seconds are up, how did you plan within that time for your post career? And I think for the college players, for an example, if you're in school, I would advise you to take, accounting classes and these things, right? And financial awareness classes, because you're right, some of those players may not go to the NBA, and this could be the most money they will make in a short period of time, and you want to capitalize on that. So it's important to really learn about how to really truly save and structure your finances properly, and take it from there.
You are here not just to reminisce with me about once upon a time when you were committed to the University of Memphis, but because it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and
right.
And you're being honored here. What does his legacy mean to you? What does this day mean to you?
His legacy is incredible. I'm trying to think of the perfect word to say, but it's really incredible, because the messaging that Dr. King was giving back in those days, in the 60s or so, was about equality, and is about togetherness, and is about kindness and compassion and these things. And these are character traits that I try to teach my children, because when you have a level of compassion and you're not judgmental, and you have kindness, and you treat your neighbors properly and these things, it helps your energy become positive, right? And that positive energy is contagious. And Dr. King was the start of that particular movement.
It's kind of a wild time in the world right now. Los Angeles is still recovering from wildfires. It's MLK Day. A president is being sworn in today. I guess this is day 2 of a ceasefire in Gaza. I think most people know your story. You converted to Judaism around 7 years ago. You've lived in Jerusalem. You understand this place and this conflict better than most. Are you optimistic that, given the news of the past couple of days, that better days are ahead? How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I am optimistic. I'm always on the side of peace and prosperity, right? And I think that's in the near future in that region. And it's important because I lived there, my children lived there. We had a beautiful time, and it was definitely, at that time, it was peace, and everyone enjoyed themselves. It was low crime rates and these things happening in Jerusalem. I can allow my kids to go out and play, 11 o'clock on Shabbat, and there's no issues there. So it was a beautiful time for me when I was there with my children. So I will hope that returns hopefully soon.
I'd like to think I'm well read. I'm interested, but I've never put feet on the ground. What do people like me, people here, not understand about what's happening in that part of the world?
Well, I think one thing about Israel is that it's a beautiful place for all cultures and religions, right? It's like the cornerstone of all religions. And when I was there, I was able to experience so many different cultures, so many different groups of tourisms that would travel to Israel and really enjoy the country, right? And so hopefully it returns to that space where everyone around the world can really enjoy the land of Israel and become better and even stronger within their faith.
Let's get on a lighter note. In the NBA, I've talked to a lot of former players. Some of them still live and die with it, follow it every day. Other ones are like, I kinda, but I don't really watch it that much. Where's Amar'e Stoudemire? How much do you follow the NBA today?
If we put a percentage number on it, I follow maybe 15%.
Yeah.
I keep up with the teams I play for.
Right.
I check the news and see what's happening. Check the highlights. I watch some of the podcasts and people speaking about sports and these things. And I watch games when I have time.
Right.
So I am still in touch with the NBA, and I keep up with some of the players and teams.
Obviously you'll never remember this because why would you? But I have a memory of sitting in a Delta Sky Club one time. I can't remember whether it was Atlanta or New York, but it was a Sunday morning and Serena was playing Wimbledon, and you just happened to be there. And so when I would text friends just like, hey, what are you up to? Just so they would text back like, what are you up to? And I'd be like, oh, nothing, watching Serena with Amar'e Stoudemire. But like you just sort of, it's interesting. You can detach from sports once you get out of it, and it's not surprising to me you have other interests.
Yeah, for sure. I still watch sports. I still watch, all the main events like, golf. I watch tennis. I watch basketball. I watch football. I just saw the playoffs last night.
Right.
I keep up with some international soccer teams or football teams, they call them over there. But it's not my main objective,
Right. The game is still the game. It's basketball, but it's changed dramatically in the ways that people play it. Lots of threes. More than half the shots with some teams come from threes now. Some people are just saying that's analytics, that's the way you play it. Others they're actually considering changing the rules to cut down on threes. Do you have any opinion on the way the game has changed at all since you retired and the way we're watching it now?
Well, I think when I was playing in Phoenix, we started the ideal of like 7 seconds or less type of ball, and we started to shoot a lot of threes. And it wasn't an analytical thing. It's just the fact that if you're open, shoot it. Right? And I think the analytics came into play, and it became something where if you have a 15-foot jumper, don't take it. Just take a step back and shoot the three. Right? And so it took that mid-range game out, which is a beautiful game, and it also took the post game out. Right? You don't see the footwork that Akeem Olajuwon wants displayed or Patrick Ewing, these guys, wants displayed. I mean, Jokic has kind of a similar footwork that you can see the poetry and the footwork now in the post, but you don't see that very often, right? And I think that's been taken out because analytical, you want you to shoot that three-pointer because if you shoot a lower percentage of threes, but a high volume of them, then you score more points than you will shooting twos, right? So the math is there. I think that's the issue right now is just shooting more threes and twos, but take the best shot that you can get is the key.
We are watching maybe not the last season of one of the greatest careers ever, but certainly one of the last, and that's LeBron James. He's 40 years old now. You played in the NBA. You got there early. You played for a long time. Can you put into words your idea of what it's like to be able to still perform at a high level at the age of 40 years old in that league?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've played until I was 35, I think. Right, and I could have played 1 or 2 more years, but other than that, I mean, but NBA wise, it's different. I was overseas playing, and to play at a high level and still put up the numbers he's putting up is remarkable. LeBron is in a league of his own. He's one of the complete all-around players that we have ever seen. He's one of the players that actually had a lot of pressure on his shoulders, even in high school, and then to live up to that hype throughout his entire career is simply remarkable. Right, we have never seen this before. And we have to cherish these moments. I know his time is almost up. He's going to retire soon, not sure when, but I think we have to really sit back and just really give him his flowers and appreciate what he's done as a basketball player because he gifted us, not only as players and fans, but also the NBA, a major gift since Michael Jordan retired, right? Jordan was our guy for a long time, and LeBron comes in to fill that void. Who's going to fill the void after LeBron? We don't know, right? So we have to give LeBron his flowers for sure.
Before I get you out of here, I want to ask you a personal question. First, some advice, perhaps. Like I said earlier, I'm pretty familiar with your story. I know that you lost your father when you were young, and your mother wasn't a steady presence in your life. Coincidentally, I happen to know a 16-year-old young man right now who's going through something very similar. Father's not in his life, and mother not the steady presence that we would all hope for. If you were talking to him right now, and because you're somebody who's made it through this, and not everybody does, what advice would you give to a 16-year-old who is in a very similar situation, minus the basketball gifts that you were in when you were at the same age?
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult situation to be in, right? I think for me, I did have the basketball gift, but I was also very determined. And my two cornerstones in my life that remained consistent throughout my entire life was God and basketball. And so I said my prayers every night on my knees, and I would go and play basketball to relieve any stress that I might have dealt with throughout the day. And I was able to be my own leader. I was able to shy away from certain groups and not go that route, right? And so I think in this situation, in those communities, you have to be more mindful of not being afraid to not go with that group. It's okay to be alone and do your own thing, right? Because once you follow that path of that group, then that group's gonna go deeper and deeper into these troubling environments, and then now you're lost in the sauce, you know? And so, but if you're able to now withstand and say, you know what, I'm not gonna go that route, even if I gotta go this way and go to the park alone and shoot for an hour and then go home, it may be lonely, but okay, I'm not getting into trouble. And I think that's the issue. You have to be a leader in your own space and follow your own path and not the train of everyone else.
That is Amar'e Stoudemire, 6-time NBA All-Star, 1-time University of Memphis.
Let's go.
Commit. Could have been a Tiger. It would have been a fun time. I would have enjoyed watching you. Man, I can't tell you how cool it is for you to be here this morning and for you to be back in Memphis. One of 3 honorees today, National Civil Rights Museum Sports Legacy Award. The symposium is at noon. It's inside the Built Ford Tough practice facility here inside FedEx Forum. You can obviously stream it as well on FanDuel Sports Network. Awesome for you to be here. Congratulations on all your success. Just a really impressive guy, man. Obviously on the basketball court, but I think you could reasonably argue off of it as well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.